Alright, so I'm going to continue with the grass now, and well, more than just the grass, also like the shrubs, but this is where all the grass files are stored. So here we have all the different image files. I'm going to put some sprites in there, get the HD ones going, and it should look great. Alright, so one quick thing that I'm going to work on my to-do list is the HD CJ. I have found someone who's reworking it all, and the project is a little old, it's 2 years old, but still, it is a really high quality remake. Here we have the player file. In here, you've got all the different properties. So it's a 200 megabyte file. The default one I think is 60 something, yeah, 65 megabytes. So this one is roughly like 3 times the size. Basically, if I give you a preview of what it looks like. There's basically all tons of like HD textures in here, so normally that'd be like the standard size texture, 66 kilobytes, 128 by 128, that'd be his hair and stuff. This one is 512 by 512 and it looks a lot clearer, so it'll look a lot better in game. Now the only slight downside to this is it is a work in progress, and that's what I mean by it is a slightly old project. 2 years have passed and there doesn't seem to have been any changes or additions. It's in a beta stage. As you can see, like some things are, well, in fact 90% of things are HD redone, but certain things aren't. On the bright side, the vanilla CJ sort of, I don't know what you'd call it. You see the vest is HD redone, it's in a 512 by 512, and even his pants, if I can find those. These are all the tattoos, they're all black, obviously. But yeah, his pants are also in like a really high definition resolution. So here we have the models. So there's the vanilla file. I'm just going to drag and drop, replace. There you go. Sorry, I was going to run outside then. But yeah, as you can see, CJ is now in a lot higher definition. You can now see the pretty much see the texture itself is, well, just a lot clearer. The face isn't blurred anymore. Right, so pretty much the last thing that I need to cover in part 4 is the foliage. Obviously I made a start to some more of the sprites. There's still a lot more to do, but I'm going to actually continue with the trees now. So I'm going to get some generic trees in there. I've got a model pack online. It's a royalty-free one, so that should be good. Alright, so one thing I noticed I haven't done yet is showing you like a video of me actually importing models into San Andreas. So I've just imported a FBX model that I made in Maya, and I've now imported that into 3ds Max. So what I'm now going to do is import the original in fact, just before I do that, I actually get the model into the correct position. The reason why I do this is so when I import it into the game it won't be moved. The next thing that I am going to do is now import the original model just to get a scale. Obviously there I imported the wrong model, so it froze on me, but here I am getting the original model, exporting that to the desktop, and now I'm importing that correct model. So as you can see, this tree was just a little too small, so I've scaled that up now, and that's pretty much ready for exporting. Just need to reset a few things. Roughly speaking, there's about 20,000 polygons on there, so I do believe I try to reduce that just a little bit, so it's a little more optimized for game. You'll notice these black shadows on there, but that's quite normal in the standard editor, so I switch it to facets, and that pretty much solves that weird black shadow. Obviously I'm trying to reduce the polygons as much as possible for game production, but I don't want to damage the model. As you can see there, it kind of rips and tears a bit, which you won't really notice in game, so I'll just leave it as that. So it's pretty much ready for exporting now. I just need to change the resolution just one last time, because I believe I changed my mind. Now that's all set, everything's in the right position, I pretty much just need to set up the materials now, so I just rename those to those materials, so once in game they will appear, otherwise it'll just be like a white material. So as you can see here, I opened the texture file for that tree, and I'm obviously applying all the textures, compressing them so they're suit for the game, and I'm also adding a new one for the leaf texture, so it's renaming that correctly, adding compression. As you can see they're not the right resolution, so I had to change that real quick. And once that had been changed, just export them, re-import them into the texture file, and just importing those there. Now that that's all set, I can pretty much just export this now. Oh yeah, one thing I did have to do was make sure it was rotated correctly, because if you, I mean, I know there's, I could have just reset the transform, but if you do not export it correctly, basically, it's sort of hard to explain, but if you don't have the pivot correctly centered, and if there is data attached to how it was rotated, you basically need to reset X form, I believe you call it. If you don't do that, then the model will not realize that you had changed the X form locations. So here you can see me importing them into the Grand Theft Auto 3 image file, and now if I render that in there, you can see it, and it looks like it's worked pretty well. There's not much more to say, so I'll show you it in game. Okay, so as you can see, this is the imported tree. We've got the textures applied. We have the leaf texture applied as well. The alpha channel is working on the leaves, which is really good. You might notice there's a shadow on the ground that doesn't match the tree, and I am hitting an invisible wall. That is the old collision file, which will need updating, so we'll get working on that pretty soon. Okay, so I actually managed to downgrade my San Andreas to version 1. What I have here is the original version, so there's no mods on this at all. I've backed up all my old stuff, and I'm going to import everything in separately. This is the original game on max settings, max resolution and things like that, so obviously straight away we can see trees, very blurred, very pixelated, jagged, incomplete in my, for 2016 standards. Other things, yeah, the road texture is actually not that bad for vanilla, but obviously can do with improvements here and there, but for the time I'd say it's roughly alright. Here we've got the original sprites. As you can see, they're blurred and not very appealing for today's standards. Render distance extremely short. If I go over here real quick, you can also see that we can't see the buildings anymore. They're completely out of render distance. Alright, so I managed to get Clio now working with the D9, D3 and version 1 of San Andreas. So basically I have added a .bat file. It is by Fastman92. Basically what this does is it fixes the registry problems in the executable, this one right here, and will basically allow you to run the game with Clio and the D9, D3. Normally these would overlap each other in some way, creating I think it's like 5 or 6 registry errors, which will just immediately crash the game. But one thing it doesn't have is a Steam overlay. To add the Steam overlay, it's really simple. Add a non-Steam game, even though it sort of is a Steam game. This window should pop up and it will now detect all the executables it can. Chances are it won't show up your San Andreas, so just quickly navigate to the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas thing, and there we have our version of San Andreas. So hit add selected programs, and there it is. So now we want to go to the properties. I'm going to name this to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas Remastered. Why not? Hi guys, so just a quick update so far. As you can see, most trees are in. I've redone this palm tree because I don't know if I showed you it before, it wasn't exactly satisfactory in my personal opinion, but here is the last tree I'll have to redo. There's a bit of a strange texture on here, that's because it's one of these leaves. As you can see now, the trees no longer have sprites for branches, they're now actual sprites for leaves instead, and the branches themselves are a 3D model. I've still got a lot of the sprites here to do, for instance. That there is actually rendered incorrectly, but in-game it shows what it should show. That's because of the naming conventions, they do overlap in different files, so fortunately because of different files it works. Aside of that, there's only one more tree to do, and to address one final issue with the LOD, which is the render distance range. But one thing I have done, courtesy of the downgrade and Clio modification, is install a 2 GB data stream, memory stream. If you don't know what that is, It allows the game to use up to 2 megabytes of the system's RAM, but in the event that your system requires more, it'll obviously give that, because your system will always take priority, so it'll use up to 2 gigabytes rather than a permanent 2 gigabytes, which is really nice. And finally, the last thing that I have added is a effect called Corona Lights. I believe I'm pronouncing that right, Corona. What that does is it places lights, like a 2D FX light, which is the lighting standard of San Andreas, on actual every single light source in the game, so it's easy for the game to render, and at the same time it's a really high quality effect. So what you're seeing at the moment, if you look on the street, mainly the street and on a few of the buildings, you'll notice these coloured lights. This really strongly gives the game a stronger graphical edge at night time. The reason for that is things that are further away now look like they have more detail because they have all the lights going, whereas originally you'd have to be on street level to see all the lights. There's really not any downsides to this, because even if you do have a low-end PC, it still tends to run it relatively decently. Again, we still have the LOD problem, but it is currently out of my reach to kind of fix that, because there's a lot of things to edit. You edit one thing and it crashes. Obviously there are fixes online, but they will overlap with the mods I've created already, so kind of stuck in that sense, so I'll have to spend a lot of time to rework that. So as long as you're not flying, it's alright, to be honest. The game itself pretty much is finished. I'm doing a voiceover for this clip at the moment because I couldn't hear myself because of the jet engine, but I've added in the final trees and sprite effects, so the game, well, when I say final trees and final sprite effects, I mean just for the Grove Street area. Obviously I've not done anything for, Las Venturas or anything. This is pretty much a finishing note, really. I'm not really going to be doing any more work on this, unless if I do get enough support. I'm going to go around a few forums, post this video and stuff, and see what people have to say about it. I will be doing a showcase, like a comparison showcase, but this is pretty much the first stage completed, really. If this does get enough support, I'll be reworking some more of the tessellation, doing more of the trees, getting more HD things put in there. Probably be installing custom cars and stuff, but for the time being it's gonna stay as it is. If you want the file, it'll be available pretty soon. I'll put a link in the description, and in the showcase video it'll definitely be in there. So that's pretty much it. So I hope you've all enjoyed part 1 of the video series. I don't know how long it'll take to get enough support, or whether if it will get enough support. I mean, I've really enjoyed doing this so far. It's been good portfolio work. It's showed what I can do. Obviously, it's given me a bit more work experience with the renderware engine. I've only done retextures previously, but I've also done a lot of remodeling and some custom scripting, which is quite nice. But that is pretty much it for the series, really. If you've liked it, then please like the video, subscribe if you want to, and I should have the showcase video coming pretty soon. And goodbye.